You've heard of this reselling platform called Depop, but you're wondering if you're too old to sell on it because it seems to cater to a younger clientele. As a 40-year-old, I'm here to tell you, yes, you should be selling on Depop. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I'm a part-time reseller and have been selling on platforms like Poshmark and eBay since 2017. But in the past few years, I decided to give Depop a try as well, and I am so happy that I did. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to easily set up your Depop account, how to get some quick sales over there and just get some traction, and just explain to you why you absolutely should be selling on Depop. So first, let's talk about what makes Depop different from other reselling platforms. And I'm going to be speaking to you in this video with the assumption that you already have a little bit of experience selling online. And so I'm going to compare Depop a little bit to some of these other platforms that you may have experience selling on, platforms like eBay, platforms like Poshmark and Mercari. It's a little bit like Instagram meets a thrift store. The vibe of Depop, if you look at a lot of, especially like the top sellers stores, it's very much like people are kind of just showing their cool lives that they're living and their cool fashion sense and their cool vibes and giving people an opportunity to shop from their feed. I mean, that's kind of the vibe. And to be honest with you, given that that's kind of the vibe, my very like professional looking pictures with white backgrounds, it doesn't really fit with the vibe, but I'm not going to go so far as to like retake pictures to fit the Depop mold. I have had a good number of sales with the pictures that I use for my other reselling platforms. So I'm not about to change that right now. But the good news is if you don't want to go down that path of having a crisp white background and hanging your item nicely on a hanger, most people on Depop are actually selling their items by actually modeling the clothes. They're doing little flat lays or just throwing the item on a hanger and putting it like on their closet door. Like nothing looks super professional or fancy because that's the vibe. The vibe is a lot more just laid back, casual. You're just shopping from someone's closet. And that's what sets Depop apart. It's a lot more relaxed in that sense. I will also say that I have sold a surprising number of items that I don't think fit that Gen Z crowd at all. My most recent sales, let me just go through them with you. I sold a new with tags Calvin Klein dress that is appropriate for like the office, like very kind of career centered. Like this was such a bizarre sale for me to have on Depop. I sold like a vintage Jones New York piece that I did expect to sell on Depop. I sold an NFL Nike dry fit polo shirt, not what I was expecting to sell on Depop. A marine layer sweatshirt, a vintage Talbots piece. It was like a silk Talbots blouse, not expecting that to sell over on Depop, although I guess maybe not super surprised. Lots of things that I'm just like, what? Why is this selling on Depop? And when I first started selling on Depop, I thought I had to be conscious of only putting things in my Depop store that would cater to that Gen Z crowd. But I have sold Eileen Fisher, like I said, some Calvin Klein. I have sold Danskos, like just the most random things. So at this point, everything that I'm listing on eBay and Poshmark, I'm also pushing out to Depop. And while some of those pieces, my Eileen Fisher, my Calvin Klein, my Dansko, that stuff tends to sell for, you know, the same amount on Depop that it might somewhere else, what I'm finding on Depop is I can actually get more for some of those Y2K or vintage or 90s style pieces on Depop than I would on other platforms. So it's a really interesting place to sell and you can make some serious money over there. So as of October 18th, 2025, there are 43.5 million registered users. And that's because Depop is actually a reselling platform used worldwide. I think Depop actually started in England and its headquarters are in London right now. They have offices in New York, but it is a worldwide platform. And as an American seller, you can actually sell to people worldwide if you want. There are right now 49 million items up for sale on Depop and 400,000 new listings being uploaded every single day. And there have been over $5 billion worth of goods sold by the Depop community community to date. So this is not like a mom and pop up and coming platform. This is a platform moving serious amounts of inventory and making people some serious money. So while obviously there are some similarities between Depop and some of these other platforms, where Depop is different is, yes, there are, small differences in how you list and the number of pictures you can have in your listing and, all these different things. There are more similarities than there are differences, I would say. So the second part of this video is going to just be kind of the logistics of setting up your shop the right way. Depop actually has a lot of great resources that I will share with you in screenshots on their website in helping you get your shop set up. So in order to join Depop, you're just going to download the app. You can also access Depop from your computer or laptop. You're going to sign up with your phone number and email. And I would definitely say, use your real email, because I get lots of information from Depop in my email that is very helpful for me as a Depop seller. They'll tell you what the latest trends are. That's where I'll see, if I've got an offer or if someone has purchased something. Definitely make sure that you use your real email that you look at every single day when you put in your phone number and email. You'll choose a username and set a strong password to secure your account. And then you will select a shop photo, just the picture that people will see when they go to your shop. I actually have not selected a photo yet. Mine just has BP as my profile picture. I should change that. I should put a picture of a real life person there. But even with it being that BP, I have made a good number of sales. And then from there, you just start listing. I tend to list on my computer, and what I do is I will create listings in List Perfectly, and I'll have a lot of the information in List Perfectly and push those listings out to the platforms that I want to sell on. You can list from your computer, you can list from your phone. On your phone, you're literally just going to hit the sell icon at the bottom, and it's going to create a new listing for you. At the top is where you're going to put your pictures. You can take your pictures directly from the Depop app, or you can take pictures from your camera roll. And generally speaking, you want the pictures to almost show the clothes in the lifestyle that they are meant to be lived in. So for example, if you are, trying to sell a pair of pants that you would go hiking in, you would show yourself wearing those pants on the trail. Or if you are showing a top that you would wear for a music festival like Coachella or Lollapalooza, you would show, that shirt being worn at a music festival, or at least maybe on you, snapped in front of your mirror with your whole Coachella outfit ensemble, the way that you would style it for Coachella. You want to kind of tell a story through the pictures that you tell, or you could be like me and just use your same boring pictures from other listings with the white background. I still sell items, but just know that there is kind of a general aesthetic, if you will, with Depop pictures. My pictures don't necessarily match that, but again, I'm still making sales. So you can use whatever pictures you want and you'll upload those pictures here. They don't have a listing title. And so when I cross list using List Perfectly, the listing title that I put in List Perfectly is what shows up at the top of the description. And then underneath it is all of the other information that I want Depop to know about this particular item. But this is where you're going to say what the item is, and you're going to give any information that potential buyers need to know about that item, including if there are any flaws or if there are any special things about this item that maybe is difficult to show in pictures. You're going to put all of that in the description. And then there is also an opportunity to utilize hashtags, which is actually something that people on Depop will utilize to find pieces that they're looking for. So again, using that example of an item that you are trying to market as something that someone could wear to a music festival, maybe for Coachella or Lollapalooza, and especially if those events are coming up, you could literally create the hashtag Lollapalooza or create the hashtag Coachella or the hashtag music festival, and people will click on those to try to find items to fill out their music festival wardrobe for their music festival season that year. So you do want to use hashtags if possible, and you can use up to 5. Depop is also a place where you also want to become as well versed as possible on kind of the trending keywords when it comes to fashion aesthetics that are popular right now. So it's helpful for these hashtags to know what is trending right now and what fashion aesthetics are popular. And Depop makes it really easy for you. On their home page, for example, I'm looking at it right now and it says shop by style, and it has words like Argyle Prep, 90s Vamp, Waxed Classics, Brown Elegance, Velvet Lounge, Cozy Cables. If I have an item that fits one of those aesthetics, I can just use those terms as my hashtags, and that's going to help people find my items really easily because that's what Depop is saying is popular right now. So you're going to put in whatever hashtags, and then there are some item specifics. This is similar to eBay. You're going to select the category, you're going to select the brand, you're going to select the condition, you're going to price the item, and one of the best things about Depop right now is that there are no selling fees, which is amazing. You can set a shipping discount if you want. I used to do free shipping and pay for shipping myself. I no longer do that. I have the buyer pay for shipping, but if you want to set a shipping discount, you can do that. And then you're going to put in your shipping information. For example, how big is the package going to be? Is this an item that you are willing to ship worldwide? And where is it shipping from? That's it. It's super easy. The information that you have to put in there is pretty limited. And once you have that information in, you're going to post your listing and wait for that item to sell. Now, when it comes to how you want to price your listings, it's really up to you. Most things probably aren't going to sell at like the higher end of what comps are saying you should be able to sell things for. And Depop people love a deal. If you turn on the bundles feature, you might be able to sell multiple pieces at once, which is always a great feeling, especially if those things are priced really well. That being said, I tend to just price things the way that I price them on other platforms, and I turn on the ability for people to send me offers. So if people want an item for less than what I have it listed for, they can just send me an offer, and the worst that happens is I don't accept or I counter their offer. The other thing that you can do on Depop, which is really nice, is you can run a sale. You can say, everything in my shop is going to be 25% off. People will see that sale price, and even though you had the item price a little bit higher to begin with, there's a lot of flexibility with the ability to run sales. But in general, I'm willing to accept lower prices on Depop than I would other platforms, simply because, again, they don't have seller fees. Poshmark is going to take 20% of your profits, but Depop, they don't mess around with that, which is really amazing. And therefore, sometimes when I, cross-list items over to Depop, I will actually, price things at like 10% less because of the fact that there are none of those fees to contend with, and I can pass those savings on to potential Depop buyers. So now that you know how to set up your Depop shop, you know how to get items listed, let's talk about what you're maybe most scared of, which is what actually sells on Depop. So again, my kind of cheat of an answer is literally anything can sell on Depop. Not only can you obviously list men's and women's fashion, but you can also sell kids items. You can also sell hard goods. So you can sell a lot of different categories. And again, while there is a sweet spot in terms of what is most likely to sell on Depop, I have sold, mature brands like Chico's and Eileen Fisher and Talbot's on Depop. I have sold no-name brands, things that are just kind of cute and fit, what is popular right now and what's trending in fashion. I have sold everything, a little of everything. So my suggestion to you would be to list everything that you have over to Depop, but just be strategic about how you market those items. Be strategic about your description. Use a lot of those keywords that people on Depop are, searching for in the search bar of Depop. And you might be able to sell things that are by brands that younger people are not typically buying. Again, when I look back at some of the things that I have sold recently, look at this. This is Coldwater Creek, okay? Coldwater Creek is a brand for women like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Like it is for mature women. But a pretty popular fashion trend right now is that like granny core, grandma core aesthetic.
Take your grandpa style. I'm gonna take your grandpa style. No, for real. Ask your grandpa, can I have his hand-me-down?
And this is that exactly. Plus, this is very like fall and autumn vibes. This sold as part of a bundle. And let's see, I use terms like granny core and boho and tapestry. That's a huge keyword that people are looking for. And I think that's part of the reason why this sold on Depop, even though it is by a brand that caters towards more mature women. So you can list everything from your eBay and Poshmark stores over to Depop, you just might want to do a little research on the keywords and fashion aesthetics that are popular right now. Again, Depop makes it really easy because they will send emails regarding the latest trends on their homepage. Like as soon as you go to depop.com, they will tell you what's trending. They will tell you what styles are trending. They will tell you what kinds of things people are searching for. Literally in my latest email from Depop, I got an email that said what to list right now. And it says buyers are looking for cozy essentials, make quick cash by listing these in-demand items. And they're saying list sweaters, list jackets and boots and sweatpants. Easy peasy. If I am really trying to make a concerted effort to sell many items on Depop, I'm going to focus on these 4 items because Depop is literally telling me, hey, sell these items because these are the items that are selling like hotcakes right now. But in general, what is going to sell pretty well on Depop, regardless of what's trending, regardless of the season, things like vintage tees, vintage sweatshirts, denim. Like I sell a lot of jeans over on Depop, minimalist basics, anything 2000s nostalgia, things that they grew up with when they were kids, anything 90s, branded streetwear. That all is going to do really well for the foreseeable future on a platform like Depop. But like I said, even if you have things from brands like Banana Republic or J. Crew or Ann Taylor, things that you're like, this stuff is way too mature for Depop, if it's styled correctly and if you create the listing strategically with the correct keywords, if you're able to look at that item and you can say, okay, I know this is White House Black Market, but there is something about it that gives whimsy goth or gives fairy. Use those listing titles because nobody on Depop is looking for a White House Black Market dress, but they are looking for whimsy goth dresses. They are looking for fairy core dresses. And if you have pieces by brands that they may not be looking for, but you're using the right keywords, you can still find a buyer for that item. So again, we're just gonna go through my solds right now. You can see all of these different items that have sold, and I'm just gonna kind of shout out some of the things that maybe are a little bit more typical, like things that I am not surprised sold over on Depop. This Free People vest, not surprised that that sold on Depop. This Rag and Bone denim skirt, not surprised. This has more of like a Y2K vibe to it. This was a great sale. It was like by this brand that isn't very popular. It's not a brand that a lot of people are looking for. The brand is Brooke Chioko. I don't know what that is. It's like a linen hand painted piece, but someone bought that on Depop because of the style of it, I would say. And what really does well for me are things like boots. This is Polo Ralph Lauren. They're just like some ankle boots. This is Tracy Reese, which is not really a brand I would expect to sell over on Depop. This is a pair of cowboy boots. Those tend to do really well for me on Depop. This is another pair of great boots, just kind of chunky. So a lot of boots do really well for me. Another type of item that has done well for me over on Depop are like more grandpa sweaters, vintage sweaters. This is a 90s J. Crew like ribbed sweater. I sold this great grandpa sweater. This is vintage Sears. Like literally the brand said Sears on it, but it's like the grandpa-ness of it. That's what helped that sweater to sell.
Take your grandpa style. I'ma take your grandpa style. No, for real.
Again, some more granny core. This is by the brand Teddy. This is not an expensive brand. This is not a great brand, but something like that sold on Depop. And then things that were a little unexpected. This is like a theory blazer. I didn't even know how to market this in a more like young people way, but it was literally a wool blazer and it sold for I think like $55 or $60. Another surprising sale for me on Depop was this pair of Lands' End shorts. This is literally like what my mom wears. Like my mom wears these colorful cotton, pretty thin Bermuda shorts from brands like Talbot's and Lands' End. Why did this sell on Depop? I have absolutely no idea, but it did. Here's another one. This is Eileen Fisher. It's a pair of black linen pants in a size 2XL. Why is this selling on Depop? I couldn't tell you, but I will tell you, this is why I list everything to Depop, because some of the things that I expect to sell over on Depop do, but also some things I'm like, why is Eileen Fisher selling over here? Why is Lands' End of all brands selling over here? You just never know. So list everything to Depop. Next, let's talk about how to make sales on Depop. I'll be honest with you, it took me a little while to start making sales on Depop. I think I had things listed for like 6 months before I even made my first sale, and I think it's because I didn't know a lot of these tips. So the first thing is Depop, just like any other reselling platform, does like to see pretty consistent activity. They want to see you over there listing items, maybe even like following other sellers, maybe relisting stale listings. They just want to see that you're in the app, you're on the platform, you're doing the things. And social engagement, similarly to Poshmark, does matter a little bit. Just again, engaging with other sellers, just being on the app, being on the platform, that's important to them. So spend a little bit of time on Depop, even if it's just poking around and doing research. See what types of things other people are selling, see what Depop tells you you should be selling, and all of that is going to help a little bit when it comes to their algorithm. And this is easy to do. It's easy to have a lot of activity on Depop if you're already selling on other platforms, just by simply cross-listing from Poshmark, from eBay over to Depop. Just get those listings over there and you can tweak them a little bit in the process as you're cross-listing them. Again, you can use keywords that are a little bit more Gen Z friendly, but in getting listings that already exist on other platforms over to Depop and in front of different and younger eyes, that's a great way to make some sales. I use, again, a cross-listing software called List Perfectly to get listings from point A to point B, and that makes it really easy, but you can move things over manually as well. Again, we talked about using hashtags so that people can find your listings faster. We talked about turning on the bundle feature, and we talked about running sales. All three of those things are really going to help get more eyes on your listings. And furthermore, because Depop doesn't have selling fees, because you're able to take home so much of the profit from each sale that you make on Depop, I do suggest boosting your closet as well. It's a 8% fee to boost your closet, which is still so much less than Poshmark's 20% fees, for example. And it does make a marked difference when it comes to how many people see those items and how many more people Depop is pushing your items in front of. Depop is very upfront with you about the effect that boosting your closet has. So I'm just going to show you right now. Here is my closet right now. I have 661 listings up, and you can see at the bottom right corner how many people have looked at each item. So this is an item that I literally listed maybe 2 days ago. It is a vintage Banana Republic ribbed polo. 136 people have looked at that listing. This vintage J. Crew sweater, 142 people have looked at. And there are certain items that I have sold, or maybe not even sold, but certain items that I have listed on Depop that have gotten over 16,000 views, which is pretty crazy. At the moment, it looks like I don't have anything with that kind of crazy view. And then if I scroll down, you can also see which listings I am running a sale on. I think I'm literally running a 25% off sale on some of these items. And you can see, if you click on the item, the effect that your boost is having on the views for that item. So this is saying, because of the fact that this is boosted, it's got a 28% increase in views just because of the boosting that I'm doing through Depop. And then when you make a sale, Depop will tell you if that sale was made because of the fact that they boosted it for you, or if someone found it the good old-fashioned way, like they just were able to find it through search. So you can see of my latest sales, let's see, it's showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sales right here. And of the 7 sales, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them were boosted. So over 50% of my items that sold as a result of me boosting my shop and boosting my listings. So that is definitely something that I recommend. I was very resistant to it at first because I was like, I want to keep all of my profit. But when I realized how many more eyes my items get in front of when I boost my closet, it was a no-brainer. Now, one potentially frustrating part of Depop that is different than other platforms is that they have a non-binding offer. What that means is someone can send you an offer, you can accept, they don't have to pay for it. They don't have to pay for it right then and there. And in fact, they could potentially just never pay for it, which means you didn't sell the item. You accepted the offer, but the item has not yet actually been paid for and therefore has not been sold. This is something that you will see a lot of people complain about, and I have complained about it my fair share as well. But here's what I will say. That's just the culture of Depop. People will send offers and it's almost like them liking an item or watching an item, if you want to use Poshmark and eBay terms. They're just trying to feel out who you are as a seller. I would say right now I'm probably sitting at like a 50 or 60% success rate of if someone sends me an offer and I accept, 50 to 60% of the time they will actually pay for the item. I will say countering generally leads to like a 30 to 40% success rate for me. If I counter someone's offer, chances are I'm not making that sale. That being said, as frustrating as it can be, especially if you're used to, receiving that automatic payment once you accept someone's offer, I think the reason it works is because you're working with people who are literally shopping their options. They're looking around at all of the different people who are selling items similar to yours, and they're putting out feelers. They're trying to see, okay, if this person is willing to sell this particular item to me for $18, will this person sell it to me for $16? And it kind of leaves room for you to continue negotiating with that particular potential buyer. And I have had instances where someone will send an offer, I'll accept, and it takes them a couple days to pay, but eventually they do because they realize I'm the only one that has the exact item that they want. And so they'll come back and they will end up purchasing from me. I have had instances as well where someone will send an offer, I will accept their offer, and nothing happens. They ghost me and the sale isn't made. And while that stinks, I know that that means there's an interest in that item and someone else will come along and send an offer and finally purchase that item. Or it means, man, I was so close. Maybe there's just a few tweaks I need to make to really make this listing pop and attract even more buyers in the future. So while the non-binding offer can be excruciatingly frustrating, there is some benefit to it. You are saying, hey, there's an interest in this item, and it helps you see like, maybe I just need to tweak the price. Maybe I need to tweak the listing a little bit. It gives you a little bit more insight into your listing, which I think can be really helpful. So even if you're a little older, should that keep you from selling on Depop? Absolutely not. You don't have to be Gen Z to sell on Depop. You just need to understand their vibe. You just have to understand what it is that they're looking for and how they're looking for those items in order to be successful as a seller on Depop. So if you want to try Depop yourself, I have a link down below that you can use to sign up for your very own Depop account. I would very much appreciate if you would use that link because it lets Depop know that I sent you over to them. I'm very excited that Depop reached out to me about creating this video for you guys, and I would love to continue that partnership with them, and you using that link will help me greatly when it comes to that. And furthermore, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed the tips that I had to share with you and would like to see more videos like this with tips about Depop and maybe even other platforms, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that YouTube lets you know every time I upload more content like this. That is everything I have for you. I hope you learned a ton, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.